Good evening, students. So welcome to another session, right? So we've been taking up a series of lectures on principles of inheritance and variation, right? So we are into the end part of this chapter. So we have started discussing certain genetic disorders, right? So we have started off with taking up a few genetic disorders and studying a few genetic disorders. In that regard, in the previous sessions, we have started off with something called as gene-related disorders, or rather we call it as gene disorders, or we also call it as Mendelian disorders or inherited disorders. So the disorders which are actually caused because of some sort of a mutation in the genes present on a specific chromosome. So that we call it as gene mutation, right? And also the cause for these genetic disorders or gene-related disorders is this gene mutation. And also we have said it that it is inherited diseases. So the diseases which are said to be inherited from generation to generation, right? So in that regard, we started off with, or we rather classified gene disorders into two categories. One is called autosomal gene disorder and the other one is called allosomal or X-linked gene disorder. So in the previous sessions, we have taken up with autosomal dominant gene disorders, right? So in that respect, we have taken up a couple of examples and we have seen what are those conditions. And also along with that, we have also started off with autosomal recessive disorders. So with regards to autosomal recessive disorders, also we have taken up a few disorders, right? So in continuation with that, today let's take up with one more disorder which is remaining in the case of autosomal recessive disorders. Then we'll move on into X-linked disorders, right? So we'll begin with the autosomal disorders, right? So that is autosomal recessive disorders. The autosomal recessive disorders. So under this autosomal recessive disorder, we have taken up almost 4 or 5 different types of disorders, right? So if you could recollect what we have seen in the beginning, we took up with something called as alkaptonuria, which was the first identified metabolic gene disorder, right? So the first identified metabolic gene disorder, alkaptonuria. Then we moved on into something called as phenylketonuria, which is also an metabolic disorder, right? Then we saw with something called as cystic fibrosis, right? Then we took up with albinism, which is also considered to be a metabolic disorder. Then along with that, we took up with the last one, which is sickle cell anemia, right? Today, we'll take up with one more disorder that is being left out under the category called autosomal recessive disorder. Then we'll move on into X-linked or rather allosomal dominant as well as the recessive disorder. So the disorder for today, what we are going to take up under this particular category would be something called as thalassemia. Thalassemia, right? So this is what we are going to take up here, right? So thalassemia is again an autosomal recessive disorder, right? So thalassemia along with sickle cell anemia, we also study about thalassemia, which is also an autosomal recessive, which is also an autosomal recessive disorder, right? So this disorder is actually characterized by damage or degradation of RBCs, right? So this disorder, that is thalassemia, is mostly characterized by damage or disintegration of RBC due to abnormal hemoglobin molecules that are actually being formed, right? So that is the characteristic feature of this disorder called thalassemia, right? So thalassemia is caused due to damage or disintegration of RBC, right? So why is there damage or disintegration of RBC? Due to abnormal hemoglobin that is being produced. Due to abnormal hemoglobin that is being produced. Now, what does this cause? Because of disintegration of RBC or because of abnormal hemoglobin that is being produced, this individual will start suffering from a condition called as anemia, right? So they suffer from a condition called anemia. So what is this anemia all about? Anemia is nothing but the decreased concentration of hemoglobin in the body. We start calling it as anemia. So the result of thalassemia is said to be anemia, very much similar to that of sickle cell anemia, what we took up in the previous sessions. Even in sickle cell anemia also, the ultimate condition or the final condition is this condition called anemia. That is decreased concentration of hemoglobin in the body. So here also, even in thalassemia also, there is either disintegration or damage to the RBC, because of which there is a condition called anemia C. And that disintegration of RBC is majorly due to abnormal hemoglobins that is being produced, right? And that would lead to a condition called anemia. Now, what happens if a person starts facing this condition called anemia? The oxygen carrying capacity by hemoglobin, or rather the RBC, would be drastically reduced, as a result of which the oxygen concentration in the body will be reduced. Since the oxygen concentration in the body is reduced, what would happen? The cells or tissues present in the body will not have enough of oxygen for their survival, and over a period of time, it would completely lead to the death of the organism or death of the individual as well, right? So this is what we have in case of thalassemia, right? So quickly putting forth again, so thalassemia is a autosomal recessive disorder which is caused because of the disintegration or damage of RBC due to abnormal hemoglobin that is being formed, which would lead to a condition called as anemia. So what exactly is the cause of this anemia? Why is an abnormal hemoglobin being produced? So let us see what is the cause of thalassemia and why this abnormal hemoglobin is being produced. So if you could recollect what we saw in the previous session with regards to sickle cell anemia also, we were talking about how exactly a hemoglobin molecule is being formed, right? So if you could remember, I told you that hemoglobin molecule is made up of two different types of polypeptides, right? So there are two alpha chains and there are two beta chains, right? So there are two alpha chains and there are two beta chains, right, which are arranged in a heteropolymeric structure, right, which are arranged in a heteropolymeric structure, right? So these two alpha chains and two beta chains together, when they are arranged in a heteropolymeric structure, would lead to the formation of one hemoglobin molecule, right? It's very much similar in case of sickle cell anemia also, what we said. What did we say in case of sickle cell anemia? In sickle cell anemia, the problem is with regard to the beta chain, where the sixth amino acid that is present in the beta polypeptide chain is being replaced by valine. So glutamic acid is being replaced by valine. That's what we saw when we were talking about sickle cell anemia. But here, in case of thalassemia, the problem could be because of two different reasons. It could be problems in alpha chain synthesis, or it could be problem even in the beta chain synthesis also, right? So based on which type of chain synthesis is being affected, right? So based on which type of chain synthesis is being affected, we start classifying thalassemia into two different categories, right? So based on which type of chain, whether it is the alpha chain or beta chain that is being affected, we would classify thalassemia into two different categories. The first one would be referred to as alpha thalassemia, and the second one would be beta thalassemia. First, let us take up with alpha thalassemia, then we'll come back to beta thalassemia. So what happens in alpha thalassemia is alpha polypeptide chains are being coded by two closely linked genes, right? So alpha polypeptide chain, right? Alpha polypeptide chain is coded by, it is coded by two closely linked genes, right? Two closely linked genes. So what are these two closely linked genes? One gene is referred to as HBA1 and the other one is referred to as HBA2. So these two genes are completely involved in the synthesis of alpha chains of hemoglobin, right? So we are telling that they are linked genes, that is, they are very closely linked genes. So what does that mean, closely linked genes? The distance between these two genes is very, very less, right? That's what we have seen. That's what we know about linkage, right? So these two genes, that is HBA1 gene and HBA2 gene, which are said to be two closely linked genes, are the ones which are actually responsible for the synthesis of alpha polypeptide chain of hemoglobin, right? So these genes are located on chromosome number 60, right? So these genes are located on chromosome number 60. In normal individual, right? In normal individual, what's happening is these two chains will function properly, or rather these two genes will function properly, leading to the formation of two alpha polypeptide chains. As a result of which the hemoglobin molecule is formed. Once the hemoglobin molecule is formed, we have proper RBC that is being formed. So once proper RBC is formed, enough of oxygen will come and bind to hemoglobin, and since there is more number of RBCs, the problem, a person will not suffer with problems related to oxygen in the body. Right? But in case of thalassemia, what is happening is there is mutation in either of the two genes. Right? So since there are two genes here, we know that each gene has two alleles. So this will have two alleles and this also will have two alleles. Right? So any mutation in either one of the four alleles or more than one of the four alleles would lead to this particular condition. Right? So what are we saying now? Any mutation, right? Mutation in either one allele out of the four alleles. So here the total number of alleles that are responsible for the synthesis of alpha chains are four alleles, right? So any sort of mutation in either one allele or more than one allele of all the four alleles, right, would lead to this particular condition called alpha thalassemia. So what is happening because of this mutation? Because of this mutation, the number of alpha polypeptides formed, the number of alpha chains formed will be less. Right? So the number of alpha chains formed would be less. Now, since the number of alpha chain formed is less, what would happen? The other side, beta chain number is same. So there is no alteration in beta chain number. Only the number of alpha chains are going down. Since there is decrease in the number of alpha chains, ultimately the number of hemoglobin molecules will decrease. If the number of hemoglobin molecule decreases, the RBC count also will start decreasing in the body. Now, if the RBC count starts decreasing in the body, what would happen again? The oxygen carrying ability or oxygen binding ability will again start decreasing. A person would start suffering from a condition called hypoxia, less oxygen concentration in the body. So this is what we have with alpha thalassemia. So what is happening in alpha thalassemia? For the synthesis of alpha chains of hemoglobin, two closely linked genes are responsible. And those two closely linked genes are HBA1 and HBA2 gene. Right? So these two closely linked genes are completely involved in the synthesis of the alpha chain of hemoglobin. Right? And these two genes are located on chromosome number 60. So any mutation in either one allele of the four or more than one allele of the four would lead to the decreased number of alpha chains of hemoglobin, right? So there is a decrease in the number of alpha chains. So if there is decrease in the number of alpha chains, number of hemoglobin molecules will start decreasing. If the number of hemoglobin molecules decreases, the number of RBC also will start decreasing in the circulation, right? Therefore, leading to a condition called as anemia, right? So this is what we have with the first type of thalassemia, which is called as alpha thalassemia, right? So now let's take up with the second type of thalassemia, which is called as beta thalassemia. So what happens in beta thalassemia? So beta thalassemia is the second type of thalassemia here, right? So we have number 2 being beta thalassemia. So as we have already said, if there is defect in the synthesis of alpha chains or if abnormal alpha chains are being synthesized, we call it as alpha thalassemia. Here it would be again reversed. So if there is a problem with the synthesis of beta chains, that is beta polypeptide chains of hemoglobin, we would refer to that particular condition as beta thalassemia. Right? Now, what is the cause of this beta thalassemia? Right? Just like what we have seen, alpha thalassemia is being synthesis or alpha chain synthesis, right, is being governed by two genes I told you. One is called HBA1 gene and the other one is HBA2 gene located on chromosome number 16. But for the synthesis of beta chain, right, for the synthesis of beta chain, there is only one gene involved, and that gene is the HBB gene, right? So this is the gene here, HBB gene, which is located on chromosome number 11, right? Located on chromosome number 11, right? So this gene, HBB gene, is now involved in the synthesis of the beta polypeptide chain of hemoglobin. Right? Any sort of mutation in this particular gene, right? Any mutation in this particular gene, either one allele or both the allele, would now lead to this condition called beta thalassemia. Right? So what is happening in this condition? Because of mutation in the HBB gene, right? So what is same thing is happening again? The number of beta chain or beta polypeptides will start decreasing, right? Will start becoming less, right? So if the number of beta polypeptide chain becomes lesser, what would happen? Again, there is no problem with alpha chain synthesis. Number of alpha chains is correctly synthesized, but the number of beta chains is now less. Now, since the beta chain is less, again, what would happen now? The number of hemoglobins synthesized would decrease. Since the number of hemoglobins synthesized decreases, again, the number of RBCs present in the blood also will start decreasing, right? So two things happening here again, even in case of beta thalassemia. Number one, since beta chain synthesis is being reduced, the number of beta chains that are synthesized due to this mutation is being reduced. Because of this reduction in the beta chain, hemoglobin amount will start decreasing, leading to a condition called anemia. Once hemoglobin amount starts decreasing, the number of RBC also will start decreasing. Those are the two effects that are seen. Along with these two, there is one more effect also seen here in case of beta thalassemia, right? So what is that? The excess of alpha chains that are present, right? Since the number of beta chains is less, definitely there would be an excess of alpha chains. So these excess of alpha chains, whichever have been remaining after the formation of hemoglobin molecules, whatever extra alpha chains are there, those extra alpha chains will now go and bind to the RBC. It will now go and bind to the RBC. Once it binds to the RBC, now these alpha chains would bring about complete destruction of RBC. Right? So these excess of alpha chain will lead to complete destruction. It would lead to complete destruction of RBC. That is the reason why we said here it would lead to disintegration or damage of RBC. So how exactly the RBCs are getting damaged? It is because of these excess alpha chains. Right? So once beta polypeptide chain number is less or count goes down because of this mutation here. Right? So what is happening? Alpha chains become more in number. So these, whatever excess of alpha chains, whatever are there, those excess of alpha chains would go and bind to the normal RBCs. Once they bind to the normal RBCs, they would start bringing about the destruction of RBC. Right? So three things are happening here with regards to mutation in HBB gene. What are the three things that we saw? First one, because of this mutation, the number of beta chains is becoming less. Since the number of beta chains is less, number one, hemoglobin number will start decreasing. Hemoglobin concentration will start going down. Number two, since hemoglobin concentration is going down, the number of RBCs also will be reduced in the blood. Number three, excess of alpha chains, whatever are there, they go and bind to they go and bind to the RBC, bringing about complete destruction of RBC. So three effects we see. Number one, number of hemoglobin is reduced, leading to anemia. Number two, the number of RBCs in the circulation will start reducing. And number three, again, whatever normal RBCs are there, those normal RBCs would be completely destroyed or by these alpha chains. This is what is seen in case of beta thalassemia, right? So beta thalassemia is actually considered the most common type of, right? So this is considered the most common type of thalassemia compared to alpha thalassemia. And there is one more name given for beta thalassemia. It is also called as Cooley's anemia. Right? It is also called as Cooley's anemia. Right? Either beta thalassemia or Cooley's. Right? So this is what we have with beta thalassemia, another type of autosomal recessive disorder. Right? So we have been started off with identifying or studying about autosomal recessive disorder. Right. In that respect, we have taken up a few disorders in the previous session, and in this session, we started off with one autosomal recessive disorder, which is called as thalassemia. Right. So quickly going through thalassemia again. So what is this thalassemia all about? Thalassemia is nothing but a genetic autosomal recessive disorder, which is caused due to disintegration or destruction of RBC due to abnormal hemoglobin that is being produced. Right. So if you see the structure of hemoglobin, there are 2 alpha chains and 2 beta chains which are responsible for the production of proper hemoglobin. Right. So in this condition, what is happening is there is mutation in the genes either coding for alpha chains or the beta chains, as a result of which the number of hemoglobin molecules will start decreasing. If the number of hemoglobin molecules decrease, the number of RBCs would be decreased. If the number of RBCs are decreased, what would happen again? Oxygen binding ability or oxygen concentration in the body will start decreasing. Right? So on the basis of which type of hemoglobin molecule or which polypeptide of hemoglobin is being affected, we started classifying thalassemia into 2 different types. One is called alpha thalassemia, second one is called beta thalassemia. So in alpha thalassemia, there is a problem or defect in alpha chain synthesis. And this, for the synthesis of this alpha polypeptide chain, 2 closely linked genes are involved. Right? One is called HBA1 and HBA2 genes, which are located on chromosome number 16. Right? So any mutation in either one allele or more than one allele of the 4 alleles that are present would lead to decreased synthesis or decreased number of alpha chain synthesis. Now, since the number of alpha chain synthesis is less, what would happen? The number of hemoglobin formed would be less. If the number of hemoglobin formed is less, again, the number of RBCs formed would be less. Right? So that is what we have seen with alpha thalassemia. Talking about beta thalassemia is also called as Cooley's anemia, and it is considered to be the most common type of thalassemia compared to alpha thalassemia. So in this, what is happening is there is one gene that is responsible for the synthesis of beta polypeptide chain, and that gene is HBB gene, which is located on chromosome number 11. Right? So because of this mutation in this gene located on chromosome number 7, a person would suffer from this condition called beta thalassemia. So what happens in beta thalassemia? Because of the mutation in HBB gene, the number of beta chains synthesized would be less. Now, since the number of beta chains synthesized is less, again, the number of hemoglobin synthesized will be less. Right? At the same time, the number of RBCs found also would be less. The third thing that is happening is whatever excess of alpha chains that are present, right? So those excess alpha chains will go and bind to the normal RBCs, normal healthy RBCs, and it would bring about the destruction of those RBCs. As a result of which, there is more and more decrease in the number of RBCs in our circulation, right? So this is what we have with beta thalassemia, the most common type of thalassemia compared to alpha thalassemia. Right? So this condition called thalassemia is also referred to as quantitative disorder. It is also referred to as quantitative disorder. Right? So it is also referred to as quantitative disorder. Now, why do we call it as quantitative disorder? Because this disorder is called because of decrease in the number of hemoglobins as well as the number of RBCs. So there is something to do with the quantity of hemoglobin as well as RBC. So we start calling it as quantitative disorder. Whereas sickle cell anemia, we start calling it as qualitative disorder. Qualitative disorder. Right? So sickle cell anemia is called as qualitative disorder because it has something to do with the quality of the hemoglobin. Right? So because the quality of the hemoglobin is not proper, RBC, which has to be a biconcave disc-shaped structure, will now turn into a sickle shape. So therefore, we start calling sickle cell anemia as qualitative disorder, whereas thalassemia as a quantitative disorder. Right? So this is what we have with autosomal recessive disorders. Right? So we have this will be done with our autosomal disorder. So we started off with autosomal dominant disorder, Then we moved on into autosomal recessive disorder. So under autosomal dominant disorder, if you could recollect what are the diseases we have taken up, we spoke about something called as myotonic dystrophy, right? Then we spoke about something called as Huntington's disease or Huntington's chorea. Then we saw about Alzheimer's disease. 3 disorders under the head autosomal dominant, right? And with regards to autosomal recessive disorder, we saw a few metabolic disorders, right? Such as alkaptonuria, phenylketonuria, cystic fibrosis, right? Then we moved on into something called as Alzheimer's disease. Then we saw about sickle cell anemia, and here is the last one, which is thalassemia, right? So with this, we'll be done with our topic called autosomal disorders, including both autosomal dominant as well as autosomal recessive disorder, right? So now let's start taking up with the second type of gene disorder, right? Let's take up with the second type of gene disorder, and that second type of gene disorder is called the X-linked disorder or allosomal disorder. So whenever we talk about allosomal disorder, we usually refer to it as X-linked disorders, right? So here we have allosomal disorders. So whenever we talk about allosomal disorders, we are actually referring to it as the X-linked disorder, because we know that whenever we talk about allosomes, right? Whenever we talk about allosomes, there are 2 different types of allosomes. So in case of females, the type of allosomes would be X and X, right? So these are the 2 X chromosomes which are present. In case of human females, when we talk about human males, it would be X and Y, right? So X and X is females and X and Y is in case of males, right? Now, since most of the allosomal genetic disorders are mostly concerned with the X chromosome, we start calling allosomal disorders as X-linked disorders. Either we call it as allosomal disorders or X-linked disorder. Now, what does this mean? X-linked disorder or allosomal disorder? So the disorders that are actually caused due to mutation in the genes located on the X chromosome. That is what we call it as X-linked disorder. If you could recollect with regards to autosomal disorders, what did we say? Any sort of mutation which is seen on the genes that are located on the autosomes, we call it as autosomal disorders. Here we are precisely talking about the genes which are located on the X chromosomes, right? So any sort of mutations in the gene that is located on the X chromosome, we start calling it as X-linked disorders, or rather allosomal disorder. In most of the places, it will be written only as X-linked disorders. So under X-linked disorder, right, from now on, we are going to see a few diseases, or rather disorders, which are caused due to mutations in the gene located on the X chromosome. Again, the X-linked disorders could be classified into 2 categories. Similarly, like what we saw with regards to autosomal disorders, they could be classified into 2 categories. One is called X-linked dominant disorder, and the second one would be X-linked recessive disorder, right? So we have X-linked dominant disorder as well as X-linked recessive disorder. So first, let us begin with X-linked dominant disorder, and then we'll get into X-linked recessive disorder. So first one, what we have is X-linked dominant disorder. So under X-linked dominant disorders, so what does this mean? There is a dominant mutation present on the genes that are located on the X chromosome, right? A dominant mutation seen in the genes located on the X chromosome. So under X-linked dominant disorders, we'll be first starting off with a disease known as incontinentia pigmentae. Right? So we call it as incontinentia pigmentae. So this is the first type of genetic disorder, X-linked dominant disorder, what we are going to talk about. Simply, it can be abbreviated as IP. So IP stands for incontinentia pigmentae. So incontinentia pigmentae is a X-linked dominant disorder, right? It is an X-linked dominant disorder. One more thing to be noted here is most of the X-linked dominant disorders are said to be very, very rare disorder. So similarly, we have incontinentia pigmentae also to be a rare genetic disorder. pertaining to X-linked dominant disorder. Right? So it is a rare genetic disorder. Seen very few cases have been reported, right? And it is because of a dominant mutation present in the gene located on the X chromosome. So this condition is mostly seen due to mutation in a gene called as IKK gamma gene. IKK gamma gene, which is located on the X chromosome, right? So a mutation in, mostly it is considered to be a deletion type of mutation, right? So what is the deletion type of mutation? One of the nitrogen base is being removed from the sequence, right? So the gene that is responsible for this condition is IKK gamma gene, which is located on the X chromosome. So any mutation to this particular gene, that is IKK gamma gene, located on the X chromosome, would lead to a condition called as incontinentia pigmenta. Now, what are the effects seen in that particular individual because of that mutation? So this mutation will have its effect on the skin, right, hair, teeth, as well as the central nervous system. So because of this mutation, there is effect seen on the skin, hair, teeth, as well as the central nervous system. But among all of this, major effect is seen on the skin. So what type of effect is seen on the skin? These individuals who are suffering from this disorder will have patches of skin, right? So they'll have patches of dark pigment on their skin, right? So there are patches of dark pigment on the skin throughout the body, right? So there are some patches, a dark patch and a light patch, a dark patch and a light patch. So that is actually considered as the characteristic feature of this condition called incontinentia pigmenta. So over a period of time, right? These patches will start becoming hard, they would start becoming rough, and they would turn into something called as lesions, right? So they would turn into lesions. So presence of these patched lesions is the characteristic feature of this condition called incontinentia pigmenta. Again, a rare genetic disorder which falls under the category of X-linked dominant disorder, right? So this is one of the X-linked dominant disorder what we have. The second type of X-linked dominant disorder what we'll be taking up is, it is called as follicular hyperkeratosis. It is called as follicular hyperkeratosis, right? It is referred to as follicular hyperkeratosis. Simply, it could be abbreviated as FH, follicular hyperkeratosis, and here we have IP, incontinentia pigmenta. So what happens in this follicular hyperkeratosis? This also is considered as a rare genetic disorder caused due to mutation in a gene known as ATP2A2 gene, right? That is located on the X chromosome, right? So the gene that is responsible for this condition, follicular hyperkeratosis, is the AP2, right? ATP2A2 gene, right? Which is located on the X chromosome. So any sort of mutation in this particular gene called as ATP2A2 gene, which is located on the X chromosome, would lead to this condition called follicular hyperkeratosis. Now, what does this mutation lead to? So this sort of mutation would lead to a condition which would be almost understood by the name itself, right? Follicular hyperkeratosis, right? Follicular hyperkeratosis. So what does this mean, keratosis? Hyperkeratosis, hyper is more, keratosis is deposition of keratin, right? So there is more deposition of hyper deposition of keratin. Where is this keratin being deposited more? In the follicular cells of the skin, right? So in this condition, there is hyper deposition of keratin, right? Hyper deposition of keratin in the hair follicles, of the skin. So this also is skin related disorder. So there is hyper deposition of keratin in the hair follicles of the skin. So therefore, we started calling it as follicular hyperkeratosis. Now, because of this excess deposition of keratin in the hair follicles, the complete follicles will be completely closed and it would lead to the formation of bumps on the skin. Right? It would lead to the formation of bumps on the skin. Now, these bumps would gradually becomes harder. Right? It would gradually becomes harder and it would finally starts forming lesions on the skin. Right? So the bumps would become harder over a period of time and finally it becomes rough. The skin will start becoming rough and there is formation of lesions on the skin. Right? So this is the condition what we have with follicular hyperkeratosis. Right? So two disorders we have seen with regards to X-linked dominant disorders, which is called as incontinentia pigmenti, and the other one is the follicular hyperkeratosis. Both of them are caused because of the mutation in the genes that are located on the X chromosome. In case of incontinentia pigmenti, the gene is called IKK gamma gene that is located on the X chromosome, whereas in case of follicular hyperkeratosis, the gene is ATP2A2 gene that is located on the X chromosome. So mutation in these two genes would lead to either incontinentia pigmenti or follicular hyperkeratosis, right? So these two are rare disorders, rare genetic disorders falling under the category called as X-linked dominant disorders, right? So this is what we have in X-linked dominant disorders, right? Now let us take up with the other set, the last set under gene mutations, or rather under gene disorders, which is X-linked recessive disorders, right? So let us take up with X-linked recessive disorders. So talking about X-linked recessive disorders, so talking about this X-linked recessive disorder, right? So this kind of disorders is usually seen because of a recessive mutation in the genes that are located on the X chromosome, right? So it is because of recessive mutation in the genes that are located on the X chromosome. We start calling it or classifying them as X-linked recessive disorder, right? So these X-linked recessive disorders, a few things, then we'll get into the details, right? X-linked recessive disorders is seen more commonly, right? It is seen more commonly in case of in males than in case of females. More commonly seen in males than in females, right? So this, you need to make a note of this, right? So X-linked recessive disorders is more commonly seen in case of males than in case of females. Why it is more commonly seen in males? We are talking about a recessive mutation, right? So whenever we talk about recessive mutation, let us talk about the allosome complement in case of humans. In case of females, we said that it is X and X, two X chromosomes are present. In case of males, it is X and Y chromosomes are present, right? So we are talking about recessive condition. In case of females, there are two X chromosomes, whereas in case of males, there is only one X chromosome. So if the disease has to occur in case, or if the disease has to be expressed in case of males, right, one mutation would be sufficient. Mutation of one gene that is located on the X chromosome would be sufficient. Whereas if the disease has to be expressed in case of females, what should be the condition? Since they have two X chromosome, one allele present on one X chromosome and the other allele present on the other X chromosome. So definitely there should be mutation in both the alleles. Only then the disease would be expressed in case of females, right? Whereas in case of male, one single mutation would be sufficient for the expression of the disease. Whereas in case of females, since they have two X chromosomes, two mutations are definitely required for the expression of the gene. So that's the reason why we say X-linked recessive disorders are said to be more common in case of males and it is less common in case of females, right? So when we say a female is normal, the female could have both the alleles normal, or the female could have one allele normal and one allele mutated. So these two conditions, we say the female is said to be normal. But this is not the case in case of males, because males have only one X chromosome, one single mutation. It would be, the individual would be an affected individual here. Right. So this is the reason why males are more affected with regards to X-linked recessive disorder than the females. This is the first thing what you need to remember. That's the reason why, if you could remember, if you could recollect when we were talking about pedigree analysis some time back, when we gave an example of X-linked recessive disorder, if you could remember, I told you that one condition what you need to remember where it is X-linked recessive is males are said to be more affected compared to that of females, right? The reason for that is, this is the reason for that. So whenever we talk about X-linked recessive disorder, things what you need to remember, first and foremost thing, the males are more affected compared to that of females. The second thing what you need to remember here is, whenever we talk about X-linked recessive disorder, X-linked recessive disorders always follow something called as crisscross pattern of inheritance. They always follow crisscross pattern of inheritance. Right? So they always follow crisscross pattern of inheritance. So what is this crisscross pattern of inheritance? Right? What is this crisscross pattern of inheritance? Right? So the parent will start transferring, try to understand this. A parent will start transferring the disease or transmitting the disease to the grandchildren of the same sex. Understanding it, right? A parent will transmit the disease, right, or transfer the disease to the grandchildren of the same sex through, right, through the offspring of the opposite sex. Right? Let me repeat it once again. Right? So what's happening in this crisscross pattern of inheritance? The parent will transmit the disease. Right? The parent will transmit the disease to the grandchildren of the same sex through the offspring of the different sex. That is what we call it as crisscross inheritance pattern. So let me put it in a simple way. So this is father. Right? Whenever we talk about pedigree here, we are talking about father and a mother. Say suppose the father is affected here, right? So this father has two children, one daughter and other son, right? A daughter and the son. Now this daughter marries a normal individual, right? And they again have two children, a daughter and a son. This time the son is again infant, right? So what are we trying to say? We are talking about crisscross inheritance pattern. So what did I say? The parent will transfer the disease to the grandchildren. Father transferring the disease to the grandchildren. Parent transferring the disease to the grandchildren of the same sex through offspring of the other sex. So this is what we can have. So father is transmitting the disease to the grandson through the daughter. This is what we call it as crisscross inheritance pattern. So here mother would be a carrier, right? So father is affected. So XY mutation here. Mother is a carrier. This father, let us consider this father to be a normal individual. So Y chromosome from the father will come here, and this mutated X chromosome will come here. This is what we call it as crisscross pattern of inheritance. So father is transmitting the disease to the grandson through the daughter, who is a carrier of that particular disease. So this type of pattern we start calling it as crisscross pattern of inheritance. Right? So we call it as crisscross pattern of inheritance. So it could be the other way around also. Mother is affected. Affected mother will start passing the disease to the granddaughter through the father. Right? But that condition is said to be a little rare, because we have already seen that in this X-linked recessive condition, the males are said to be more affected. Right? So affected father would transmit the disease to the grandson grandson through the mother or through the daughter who is a cat. This is a crisscross pattern of Inheritance. So two things you need to remember whenever we talk about X-linked recessive disorder. Number one, males are more commonly affected compared to that of females. The second thing is X-linked recessive disorders always follow the crisscross pattern of inheritance. Right? So this is what we have with introduction to X-linked recessive disorders. Right? So we'll stop here for today. In the next session, we'll take up a couple of disorders and we'll see how exactly why more males are affected and how more males are affected. And at the same time, we'll be studying about this crisscross pattern of inheritance also by taking a couple of examples. So we'll be taking up 3 disorders. One is called color blindness, second one is hemophilia, and the third one is Duchenne muscular dystrophy. Right? So those 3 disorders we'll take up and we'll study in detail how exactly the inheritance is happening with regards to X-linked recessive conditions.